Getting straight to the point, this amplifier is a pure Class AB analog amp with two sets of RCA analog inputs and a set of unbalanced XLR inputs. And CHoco sound is part of the amplifier brand Kinky Studio, which is sold direct on their website. This is a 138 watt into 8 ohm amplifier, which is decent for the size. You can get this in silver, this is the unit I have it in, or this slightly greenish colour gunmetal finish. And it's what you'd describe, I think, as half-width hi-fi, or thereabouts. But it's quite bulbous in size height-wise because it has to fit in quite a decent-sized 400 VA toroidal transformer. But I quite like the fact that it's got these nice chamfered edges around the case. There's no sharp edges of some metal cases that you get in cheaper Chinese hi-fi, which is a bit of a bugbear of mine. You end up slicing your fingers up. Styling wise, I think this amplifier is trying hard to be futuristic looking with its sort of fighter pilot style text in the display and cut off edges. That may or may not be your cup of tea. I did actually like the glass window on the top. It's like an AVM amp that I reviewed, and you get a good window into the electronics and it adds to a feeling of quality. I didn't particularly like this sort of cheeseboard top that they put on the top. It looks like a kind of afterthought to the overall design. So I'd say overall that whether you like this or not, I think there's probably going to be mixed opinions about whether you like the design. It's a sort of almost like a Marmite type case. You're either going to love it or hate it. The K-Link socket at the back is actually for expanding this EMEI amplifier to be used with other CHoco sound components. This EMEI is actually the first component in the line of products, so we'll have to watch this space, but I understand they are actually developing a DAC to use this connection. The only other thing to say about the back panel is the fact you get a single set of speaker terminal outputs. I fed this amplifier the excellent Aon S9C Pro reference DAC, cost $700, £600, and it's immediately obvious that you're getting an awful lot of sound quality for a few dollars under $1,700. So that's the first take home of trying this amplifier, and that's perhaps hardly surprising considering the direct selling model and the fact, as I keep banging on about, there's no dealer and distributor margin, so you're getting more for your money. This amplifier on treble is nice and refined. It sits there where it should. It's not in your face. I found that it is a balanced amplifier regards to how it presents treble, and you're going to have to pair it with really, really forward speakers for it to not match. There was very, very little sibilance with the leading edges of notes when I was using it with my PMC 25-23 speakers. It's got rhythmic bass, which is decently deep, and it doesn't feel like it lets you down when you listen at modest volumes compared to amplifiers like my Hagel H390, obviously a totally different price territory as well. You only really notice when you start to push the volume and listen quite a bit louder. But in terms of the mid-range, it's got a nice, soft, relaxed tonal quality there. It sits, because of that character, slightly further back from the soundstage compared to something like a Hagel, because the Hagel has obviously less warmth in the mid-range. So, you know, you pick your choice there. I would say, though, that soundstage is really, really nice and wide and refined with this amplifier, and that is another standout trait. I think the overall impression is of a nice, natural, cosy, cosseting and comfortable amplifier in terms of like the overall mid-range and the tonal quality of the sound. I wouldn't say so much so that you don't get top treble in the sound, because it's still there when it's needed, but treble is not diffuse, spacey or airy in any way, shape or form. This is a very refined amplifier. You'll find, I think, that female vocalists sound as if they're a little bit further back on the stage compared to the rest of the instruments that are in the recording. That may or may not be right to you. I actually found that it was nice and natural, But when I played Kraftwerk's Trans-Europe Express, I felt that I needed a little bit more of that mid-range to come at me, where you've got those raw synths and you need that sort of forceful sound in the mid-range. That's something that I've been very used to with Hagel amplifiers. So it means, I think, you picks your music, you picks your amp. I felt that the Kinky Studio EX M1 Plus was a little bit better in terms of electronic music, in presenting no padding fatness in tone, that rawness in the mid-range, being able to come at you more means that it's better suited for that type of music. This CHoco Sound EMEI amp is more for slower acoustic music, rock or jazz, maybe female vocal as well. So that's what I would ask you to bear in mind if you're considering this amplifier. But let's not forget also that speaker matching is such an important consideration. So who's to say that this amp is going to suit a certain type of music? Pairing this amplifier with my KEF LS50 Metas, the sound does move away from this incisive, resolving type character that we can advocate of modern hi-fi systems nowadays, and that is kind of normally the norm, if you like. So I would say in that sense, this amplifier is actually a speaker matching amp. I personally felt it wasn't the best match with the rolled off top treble of the KEFs, but when I paired it with my PMC speakers and some Arundel 1723 Bookshelf S THX speakers, let me get that right, that I've got on loan at the moment still, it was much more of a match. Selfishly, I'm slightly disappointed that this amplifier doesn't have the same house sound as the Kinky Studio EX M1 Plus, but that's only my preference, and it doesn't mean that just because I don't like the sonic character of an amplifier as much as another, that I can't rate it so far as a review goes, because there are plenty of amplifiers that I've reviewed that are a higher price, that are not as impressive as this CHoco Sound EMEI amplifier for all it does. And if you're into the sound character that this amplifier, inverted commas, does, and if that's what you want. I'm extending this short video on Patreon to discuss those amplifiers I think this CHoco Sound is actually better than. Patreon is a private forum where I can discuss all my opinions and thoughts to save you money about products, and keeping the credible ethos and aims of 13th Note Hi-Fi reviews. At the same time, I'm still giving you access to my opinion on YouTube. Patreon is the better way to ensure that you don't fall down any rabbit holes in terms of buying the wrong products, because you can access all my thoughts and opinions, where obviously it's very difficult for me to say which is the better product publicly on a YouTube forum where I might alienate brands away from giving me loan products. I'm sure you can understand that. Patreon is deliberately low cost at €5, dollars or pounds every month. In the meantime, thanks for watching on YouTube, and see you in the next video.